Today is the 5th of October. We're doing day 6 of JOSD. So we'll summarize the entire day till day 5, whatever we've done. And part 2, we'll be doing more on akarma because we hardly touched it last time. What is akarma exactly? It means action without reaction. How is that possible? How do we do the same things as we normally do in life and still not get a reaction for it? That's part 2 of the class today. Part 3 is yoga and bhakti yoga. What is the connection? In day 1, if you remember, I was writing down all the different types of permanent happiness, or the different type of happiness that we have, pleasure. It was parthiva rasa, and there was do you remember the second one? There was parthiva. First physical, mental and emotional. The third level was intellectual, and the highest was spiritual rasa or spiritual pleasure. That is bhakti rasa. Now how is that described in the Bhagavad Gita? That is part 3 of the class, and the last is practical application of Bhagavad Gita in our daily lives. How do we practice Bhagavad Gita every day? How do we make it a lifestyle? Right? So part 1, I want some answers from you today then. So it's a summary. Who am I? What's my identity? The soul, yeah. I am the spirit soul. I am not this material body, nor am I even the subtle body. This earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego, this ahankar is simply a covering on the real self. I am the spirit soul, Sat, Chit, Ananda. I am eternal. I don't die. The material body is what dies. The ego is what dies. I live on. Correct? Just like I live on from a child to an old person, same way after the body is dead, is decomposed, is useless, then I have to transfer to a new material body. That is what we did in day 2. Right? The next question is, where do I come from? I am not the material body, I am the spirit soul. I come from the spiritual world. In day 5, we did this. What is the spiritual world? What is the material world? This material world is made up of 8 elements that are described just a few minutes back. And then the spiritual world is made up of Sat, Chit, Ananda, which is compared. Now if you compare a normal society, in a normal society there's a requirement of a prison house. Do you remember that analogy that we had? In a normal functional society, there's a requirement of a prison house which is very important, other than the other infrastructure like schools, hospitals, roads, which are required in a city. And a prison house is also required for the rebels. Same way in the entire creation of the Lord, 1/4 is a prison house which is called the material world. All those who want to be independent of God are put into this material world for purification, for punishment, and they come out. How?
So we are in the material.
We are in the material world. We are in a prison house. That was day 5. Right? So that is 1/4 of Krishna's creation. Is that right? The 3/4 is this spiritual world. That is actually where we belong. The person who is in the prison, does he belong there? He belongs to his family outside. He belongs to his friends. He belongs to his occupation. He belongs outside. When he rectifies himself outside, does he go to a new place? No, he just goes back to where he belongs. Is that okay? Just in a summary. So where do I come from? I, the spirit soul who was originally with God, has come from my true home, the spiritual world, which is full of Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is eternity, bliss and knowledge. And that is the reason why we are searching happiness here. Because by nature we are happy in the spiritual world. And we try to find that same experience in the material world. This material world is dukhalaya, so that we learn and get out of here. Next question. Where I have come from and where am I now? I am in the prison house. I am in the material world. I am now in this material world called dukhalayam ashashvatam. Ashashvatam means Shashvat is temporary. Ashashvat is permanent. Means eternally. permanently, this place is going to be a dukkha alay or a dukkhalay, because that's what a prison is meant for. Prison is not meant for pleasures. Yeah, it's meant for purification, for rectification. And it's a place full of miseries, and it is temporary. So the question is, why I am here? Why has Krishna put us into a prison house? Yeah, it's our choice, that's right. I chose to be independent of God. And thus He created the prison of the material world for my purification, for my rectification, to learn that I cannot be independent of God. I am happy when I am dependent on God. Just like a very small infant child is happy, is protected, is secure when he is under the care of the parent. When the parent punishes the child, is it because the parent wants revenge or enjoys it? No, in fact, a good parent, the heart breaks when she or he has to punish the child, but it is for the own good of the child. He comes out learning much more. So I chose to be independent of God, and thus Krishna created the prison of this material world. Next question. This is the prison house. I am here for punishment and purification. How do I get punished here? By birth, death, old age and disease. That's what we did in day 1. And purification from the illusion, pride, anger, greed, envy and lust. With these 6 things, I am not fit to go back to Godhead. In the 15th chapter, there is a beautiful shloka, 15.6, where Krishna says that the spiritual world is there. What is the qualification to go back to the spiritual world? The 6th verse of the 15th chapter, he says, Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandve vimukta sukha dukkha samnir gacchante mudha padam avyayam tat. He said, Avyayam, to that eternal place a person can go when he is free from this I pagal. What is this I pagal? I stands for ignorance, P stands for pride. It's an acronym. A stands for anger, G stands for greed, then envy and lust. When we get free from these 6 anarthas, useless, meaningless things which are filled in our heart, and when we free from these things, we free from the costumes of the 84 lakh species. What are the different types of bodies that we have? It's the 84 lakh species. And the chains are the 3 modes of material nature. This, when you do day 5, it will be more clear to you. The tamogun, rajogun and sattvagun. Have you heard about this? Yeah. Tamogun, that's mode of passion. Rajogun is, tamogun is mode of ignorance. I thought you were not coming. Sorry. You're most welcome.
There's some where he was going, so there's the traffic.
No problem. This is revision in the end. Chains are 3 modes of material nature. They bind me to a certain... What happens now? How does this function? Do you remember? The first doer. Do you remember who was the first doer? The first doer was my desire. To execute my desire, I get a particular chain. Could be in mode of goodness. If the desire is in mode of goodness, then I get this, I'm coated with this mode of goodness. If my desire is passionate, then mode of passion controls me. And if my desire is in mode of ignorance, then ignorance is what coats me up. So these 3 modes of material nature. This is what this material world is all about. And why do I get different bodies? Because of karma. The 3 types of karma that we covered in day 5. Good action gives me good reactions. Is it the best?
No.
Because it still gets me back to this material world. When I do something beneficial to someone, I have to get the fruit of it. To get the fruit of it, I have to take birth again. And again there is birth, death, old age, disease, adhyatmic, adidaivik and adhibhautik. So what do? I do vikarma.
But if you do go to someone without expectation of it getting good back to you, as you say, with no expectation, so does that still apply as good karma?
When we define a karma, I'll come to that question. I want to define a karma because I did not define a karma last time. No? What is the difference between good karma and a karma? How do I make my good karma into a karma? Because I don't want reaction, I don't want to come back. Is that your question?
Yeah.
You deal it when we come to a karma. Yeah? Why do I get different bodies? That's because my desires are different, my attitude and my actions. These three things, my attitude, my actions and my desires, is what will decide what my next body will be. Is that okay? And then for how long will this go on? Till we get out of the cycle of birth and death. This will go on. That's our choice. It's completely our choice. We pile up more material desires, we are piling up more material bodies for ourselves. Again, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. It's that.
So
that cycle is on for me.
How long they will, like, I will never be able to come to know that whether this is my last birth.
You will come to know. Of course you will come to know. When you're getting closer to Krishna, you will come to know that it's your last birth. When your spiritual body awakens, when that soul awakens from the slumber of ignorance, you will know that it's your last birth now. Millions of lives we have lived, millions of good and bad things we have done, millions of reactions in store for us. Because activities are already done, the desires have already, what do you say, gone, popped out of my head. Now what do I do? Is the question. What should I do now? Now, at least what we know from day 5 is that good karma and bad karma, in one sense, are equivalent because they keep me in this material world. Do you agree? I repeat, good karma, that is being beneficial, charitable to others, is definitely better than vikarma anytime. And it keeps me in this spirit, in this material world. Gives me a birth again to reap the fruits of that good karma. Your class is in GFS office, backside. Right? So what do? I have to act in such a way that I stop the reactions to my actions. And that is possible by the third type of karma. We did karma, sakarma, in other words, good actions giving me good reactions. We did vikarma, bad actions which give me bad reactions, and there's third kind of karma which Krishna describes in Bhagwate Gita, which is called akarma. I am doing actions and I'm not getting any reaction. Have you seen a cassette at any time? Old time we used to have cassettes. And there is this, both the sides are rotating apparently the same side, whereas one spindle is getting wound up even more and another spindle is getting less. How's that? Yeah. Apparently both are doing the same thing. Apparently Duryodhana and Arjun were doing the same activity on the battlefield. One was getting vikarma, reactions being piled up. Duryodhana's bad karmas were increasing. Arjun performing the same activity, his past karmas were getting destroyed and his spiritual blessings were increasing. What was the difference between both of them? One was performing vikarma, one was performing akarma. Attitude? The thought, the motivation, the purpose. Duryodhana's purpose was my ego, my greed. I want it. I want to be the enjoyer. And Arjun's purpose, his intention, his agenda was, because Krishna is asking me to fight, I am fighting. We'll do that. Now after we finished our summary, we come to this portion. What is a karma? To go back to the spiritual world, at least I am human now. Yeah? Now I have a chance. Human life is like a train junction. You can decide where you want to go. This is how we ended last time. We are special because we have A, B, C, D. Until I use this A, B, C, D, I am a animal. I use this, I am a human being. When I fail to use it, I am a two-legged, sophisticated animal. Okay? So ability to inquire, bliss, choice and determination is what I use as a human being. For what? Because it's a precious gift. Human life is a train junction. Now we can choose to be a demigod by good karmas. By abundant good karmas, we can take birth in heavenly planets. Or we can stay human when we are in mode of passion. We stay a human. When someone behaves in mode of ignorance, he becomes an animal. Or when we perform a karma, what happens? By good karma, it's demigod.
What is human?
You get a human life again. In your next birth, I either go to the heavenly planets, In my next birth, either I become a human being again, that's in mode of passion. If my activities were in mode of passion, my activities were in mode of ignorance, I did only vikarma, then I become an animal, means I lose this precious gift of a human life. Or I can utilize this ABCD well, which is extra in this human body, and I go back to Godhead. And how can I do that? It's by akarma. Or in other words, akarma is also called as yoga. These two words are non-different. I'll tell you how. So I'm defining akarma now. Attitudes and actions which bring no reactions is akarma. What is akarma? Attitudes and actions. No, it's not written. You want to write it down?
Yeah.
Attitudes and actions. I'm assuming I'm going to give the Bhagavad Gita to you soon. Attitudes and actions which bring no reactions is called akarma. How do I know? How can we practically perform akarma, actions which bring no reactions?
It brings no reaction from the opposite party only, or from your...
From laws of karma, basically. When a thief robs, he gets a reaction from the government. Yeah. So, laws of karma are like the government. He will give you back. Because every time you don't get it back from the person. Like, for instance, someone murders someone. And that person is dead, he can't give back anything. Laws of karma are arranged in such a way that that same person will get a chance to murder you. In later, whenever, like Dhritarashtra, he lost his 100 children. How it happened was arranged by laws of karma. So everyone gets their dues. There is no loan pending. So how can we practically perform actions or work done for the pleasure of Krishna? Actions and work done for the pleasure of Krishna gives no material reactions. How do I know that? Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita. Rather, such work done in service of the Lord gives spiritual reactions and spiritual blessings which will enable me to go back to Godhead. For example, when I am living in my parents' house, do I have to pay rent? Do you pay rent in your husband's house? No. Why? Because you all are cooperatively living together with love. Then, when do we pay karma, or when do we have to do a reaction? When do you get reactions? Because we are doing something for my own pleasure, which is actually not even benefiting me in any way. Like not benefiting the soul, it might benefit the material body. Yeah? When I do that, I get something back. But when I am doing it for Krishna in His creation, then I don't have to give anything back. When I enjoy something, I pay for it. When I go to eat a pizza in a restaurant, I pay it in the restaurant. When I eat in the house, do you pay your parents? Why? The action is eating. There's a difference. Because here, I'll be elaborating more.
Questions coming up.
I'll be elaborating more.
Yeah, it's like...
How do I make it? Yeah, practically I'm coming to this. I'll turn it off?
Yeah.
Still good. Like for example, this person, he was challenged. They play these games, truth or dare. Yeah. There was this boy who was challenged to paint on the wall of a huge mansion of a very rich merchant. And it was one of the biggest mansions in the village. And this rich merchant, he was constantly, tormented because someone would paint on the wall, someone would, stick all these, 3D movies or, these third class movies and, some buy this, buy that. It kind of ruins the look of the entire mansion. Now he spent so much on it, not for some stickers to be put on it. Correct? So then he was very tormented and he would continuously work so hard to get these things off so that his mansion looks nice, the outer walls look nice. Then he made an announcement because he's so fed up, saying that if anyone pastes anything or paints anything on my mansion walls, I'll personally break their legs. So irritated. So these village boys, they challenged one of the boys that, Chal, tere mein dam hai na? Yeah, go and do it. boy said, fine, I'll do it, no big deal. So he takes up this brush, he takes up this paint, and he goes and he starts painting on the wall. These boys are horrified. He's like, God, he's really doing it. And this rich merchant, the security fellow does it, calls him, says ki, no, this guy is doing it, what do we do? The rich merchant says, pakad ke usko andar leke aao. And these boys thought, oh my God, what is happening? And this boy, he walks out with a sweet box and cash. Why is that? Because the boy says, at least check what I have painted. This is what I painted. Stick, no bills. He did what he wanted to do, and he did it for the pleasure of the... Yeah. So what does he get? He gets a reward. Yeah. So when devotees, they don't get a karma because they live in the service of the Lord. How do I do that? Now I am, suppose if I am a student, if I am a homemaker, if I am a business person, if I am a working professional, how do I work for the Lord? How do I do it? For example, this soldier. Kahan gaya soldier? Who's working for the government. Right? Apparently he's killing every day. And what does the nation give him? Yeah, accolades, and he gets rewards, and he gets, what are those merits, those badges on his uniform. That's like, it kind of makes their shoulder look more broad. For killing. Why? Because he's doing it for the government. If the same guy goes to his native village on a holiday and something, and over there he picks up the government revolver and kills someone he had a tiff with, personal tiff with, then will the government give them awards? Rewards? Badges? No. This is what he'll get. So the difference is, when we do something, we do it for the pleasure of the Lord. For example, let's take a homemaker. Doing absolutely the same thing. And there's a normal homemaker, she goes to the, to the mart, she buys things, all the groceries, all the requirements for the house, she stacks it up at home, taking very good care of her children, her parents, in-laws or whatever, things to be run in the house, all these things are done perfectly, cooking in the house. When the children, they're sick, she feels bad. When the husband, she has a becoming, she feels bad. So all these things are happening, and this lady is gathering all the karma. Whereas a devotee lady, or one who is living for the pleasure of God, what does she do? She takes care of her children because she sees her children as parts and parcels of God. She realizes that these living beings or these people are also souls who actually belong to Krishna, and they put under my care. So how much more do I have to take care of them? Is there a difference? Imagine, just for example, that you have your child and then your neighbor had some emergency and she had to drop her child to your house. Who will you take care of more? When you realize this is mine and this is a responsibility. Isko kuch ho jayega to panic is online. You understand that? Not that you won't care for your child. Of course you do, as you regularly do. But something happens to that child who's your responsibility. Now this is a responsibility, your spouse. This house belongs to Krishna. How much more do I have to take care of it? My husband, who's also a part and parcel and child of Krishna. Do I hurt him? I'm reminding myself. If I hurt him, I hurt Krishna. Yeah, when I take care of my children, I have to be so much more careful because I have to lead them to Krishna. When she cooks in the house, what does she do? When she cooks, she offers it to Krishna first because he is the owner of this house. The owner of the house gets the right is first always. Imagine if the servant eats himself and then gives you whatever is the leftover. No, that's not the way it's done. You are served first and then the servant takes care of himself. Right? So this is the difference between a devotee homemaker and another homemaker. Right? And here this devotee homemaker, because her attitude, her agenda, her motivation is to please Krishna, she stops getting any karma for whatever she is doing. Business person. Why is he doing business? For profit. Basically, everyone is working so hard. Is it only for profit? It's because they have a family back home to take care of. No? What do they say? Papi pet ka sawal hai, whatever the dialogues are there. Na? Why do they do this? Because there's a family back home to take care of. When this family belongs to Krishna, my spouse, my wife, my children, how much more do I have to look after them? I have to work very hard. Right? This house which belongs to Krishna, all my funds are going in this house, so that I maintain it well. It's like a temple now. So when you give to a temple, what happens? Even the source of your income is purified. Am I getting any karma? No. In fact, when I give more, I'm getting more back in case of spiritual blessings.
So the shift is only in the attitude.
Attitude. It's only a question of...
It's the same action, it's just the attitude shift.
It's just a matter of your consciousness. It takes practice, definitely. When a devotee, when there's a student studying, and all categories of people, yes, I'm just defining everything. Students, when they study, what is the motivation when, people, I'm not talking about very small kids, you have to push them to study, but when you become a little career oriented, you have to get ahead, you have to climb the, whatever ladder, or what do they say called, corporate ladder, or whatever, You want to do it, you want to be at the best, but then what a person realizes, even when they get to the best, they're still hankering for more. When a devotee student is studying, he understands. In fact, practically I've seen so many students, they come here with their mark sheets and they keep it at the feet of God. Saying that whatever marks, whatever endeavor that I've performed is for you. That's what Krishna says in 9th chapter, verse number 27. Yat karoshi yadashnashi, yat juhoshi dadasi yat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva mad arpanam. What do you offer to me? Whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform. Studying is an austerity. Serving your family, without, it's basically a selfless, thankless act. It's an austerity sometimes. Of course, a lot of times we do it out of pleasure too. That austerity has to be offered to Krishna. That is when it becomes a karma in practical daily life. More practical application is still coming, but I'm just defining a karma here. That it's a change of desire. Even my desire. I'll tell you about devotees, now when they go ahead and think in life that, oh, this is what, if I do something, if I say something, this is not what Krishna will be pleased. Maybe if I tolerate now, maybe before I speak something, if I'm just conscious of what Krishna wants. Now this is a personal relationship. Tomorrow when you want to take a decision, you will consult your husband, you will consult maybe your in-laws or your parents. Why? Because we don't live in an island. We have to live according to, we trust them, we love them. So that's why they know they'll help me in my decision. And that is that loving relationship in between. So taking Krishna as a person who's my eternal parent, my guide, my well-wishing friend. So when I consult him or when I think about his pleasure first, that is what will give me happiness, and that is what will break this bond of reactions. So that is practical akarma, which I'll be defining more in the end also. Okay? So now don't paint on the wall. That example I gave you. Now, how do I work for the Lord? Now, how that breaks reactions? A little more technical understanding gives, it comes from an analogy. Have you seen an iron rod? Iron rod that is there. When I keep this iron rod, when it's normal, it's pretty cool. If you touch an iron rod, it's quite cool. When I keep this iron rod in fire, what happens? Becomes red hot. And even after red hot, there is something called white hot. It starts, that means it's really hot. It's just a point of time before it starts melting. And it's that white hot. If I touch that white hot iron to paper, what will happen? It acts just like fire. Why? Because I kept it in association of fire. So when I think of Krishna, before I perform any action, when I do, my consciousness is filled with Krishna consciousness. When my, whatever attitude I have is that way, what happens? I'm constantly in touch with Krishna. Just like that rod is constantly in touch with fire, my actions become spiritualized. This body, this mind, this ego, these senses, all become spiritualized because I'm constantly in touch with Krishna's pleasure. So that is the difference. When I take the iron rod out of fire, what happens? It starts cooling off. Yeah? So then that attitude has to be constantly. It takes practice. Practice makes one perfect. So the same activities can either bind us like that spool in the cassette, or it can free me. Just like Arjun and Duryodhan. The same activity was freeing him from material reactions, and here Duryodhan was getting more bound. The same activities can either bind us in the material world with material reactions, or they can also liberate us from material world based on our motivations. If we simply follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, that's all it takes. Given in the scriptures, and we can get liberated. Rather than performing for selfish enjoyment, we perform that activity for Krishna. Is that okay? And that is what akarma is. So I defined what sakarma is, good activities, vikarma is bad activities, and akarma is performing actions, attitudes, desires for the pleasure of Krishna. So I did a summary. In the entire summary, we realized that to go back to the spiritual world is the agenda of human life. How do I do that? By akarma. I do the same actions that I'm doing as a human being, and same time it doesn't give me reaction. This akarma in Bhagavad Gita is called as yoga. What does yoga mean? What is actually the meaning of yoga? This word yoga comes from a root word called yuj. Yuj means to join or to connect. Connect to what? To connect this tiny Atma to the Paramatma. To connect this tiny Jiva back to his parent. Just like in the first day one we did about that child who was lost. We give them food, we give him shelter, we give some positive talk. What happens? The best thing is just want to give him, just get him back to the mother, get him back to the parents. He's so lost. The parent can do everything, food, clothes, sheltering, spiritual talk or positive talk or whatever the requirement of the child is immediately fulfilled when he's connected with the parent. So yoga means connection to God. Or the soul connects with God. Yeah, to connect the soul with God. Now in Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 kinds of yoga. Do we get this clear that we need to connect with God? Just like a finger. This finger is useful till it's connected with this body. Yeah. If I cut it off, is it useful? No. So the soul who's disconnected from Krishna, what happens is not happy. It's trying so hard. But without the sanction of Krishna, without the assistance of Krishna, it cannot be happy. Just like this finger is useless till it's connected to the body. For example, another example is of hair. My husband says that your hair is very nice till the time it's not in my food. It's disconnected from my body, so it becomes a contamination. What happens when you find food in the restaurant in your food? You just put that plate away, you don't want to eat it. When that same hair is on someone, it looks very, beautiful, shiny. What happens when does it become a contamination? When does his nail become dirty?
And it's not with the body.
And it's not connected to the body. So we become happy. We get permanent happiness in connection with Krishna. Yeah? So that connection, Krishna says there are 4 ways. There's Karma Yoga. He gives an option of Karma Yoga in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He gives an example of Dhyan Yoga in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Dhyan Yoga is in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. These 3 options, what happens? Do you remember the chariot of the body? Yeah, there is the 5 horses, which are the 5 senses. There are ropes, which are like the mind. The driver is, do you want to remember? The soul? Sleeping. Driver is sleeping, the gadi gaya. The driver is the intelligence. Yeah, the passenger is the soul. We were close. The driver and passenger are very close. Okay, and this chariot is the body. Correct? So there are 5 horses, which are the 5 senses. Now these senses can be purified by doing Karma Yoga. Okay, that means the horses are being trained. Yeah. In Jnana Yoga, what happens? The mind gets Actually, this is the mind. Sorry, it should be opposite. Mind should be here, intelligence should be here. Gyan Yoga, 4th chapter. This should be intelligence in place of mind. In Gyan Yoga, the intelligence gets connected to Krishna. That means the driver is getting connected to, is getting purified. And here the reins are getting purified by Dhyan Yoga. And what happens in Bhakti Yoga? The very soul is awakened. So which is the best? The Bhakti Yoga. When the soul is awakened, automatically everyone has to follow an order. Intelligence will automatically drive through. So here, one second. Yeah. When we think of yoga, what comes to our mind? Just asana, just some pranayam. I'm not saying that they are wrong. They are a part of which yoga? This kidhar gaya? Dhyan yoga. It's a part. In Dhyan yoga, there are 8 steps to samadhi or perfection. There's yama, niyama. That means some regulation, some do's and don'ts. Some things that you should do, some things that you should not do. Which includes celibacy, complete celibacy to perform yoga. Absolutely no sex life. That means grihasthas are out. Right? Technically they are out. And also asanas, some practicing, and pranayam is the breathing, the respiratory exercise. All these things are aspects. There's yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan, and then dharan, dhyan. Then there is finally samadhi. So there are 8 steps which are there, and we practice just some aspects of it. So if this person is performing some asana and this person is B.K. Iyengar, he is performing some asana, do they both get the same benefit? No. So then what is this? We have we perform meditation or Dhyan Yoga for some shapely body or some things like that, or increased lifespan, some mystic powers. All these things are byproducts of yoga. They're not the goal. The purpose of yoga is to join. As we saw, the root meaning is to connect. By performing all these yogas or asanas, are we connecting with Krishna?
They're just stepping stones.
Yeah, they're just stepping stones, and this goal is much more far. Because we saying as a shapely body or mystic powers to be the goal, actually these are only byproducts. Right? They're not the goal. The goal is to attain to the top. Yeah. I was defining this. So yoga, what is yoga? To connect. What is not yoga? These things. Exercise for shapely body, increased lifespan, mystic power. Yoga is not connected for that. Now, Bhakti Yoga is the topmost, as we saw, according to the chariot of the body also. And why is Bhakti Yoga the topmost? Number 1 is because it gives the maximum result in the shortest time. Maximum result in the shortest time. This Karma Yoga takes lot of time. Till our senses are purified, the mind, intelligence are still pending. Gyan Yoga, as I told you, even if the intelligence purified, still it's going to take some time. The mind, that whole procedure is so long. Dhyan Yoga, that yam, niyam, asana, pratyahara, to perfect each step takes a long time. Bhakti Yoga is directly the soul is being awakened. So it's a direct process. So if I compare a 100-story building and the 100th floor to the spiritual world, that's where I have to reach. Then Karma Yoga is compared to the 25th floor. Means it's a step. Does it take me to the 100th floor?
No.
It takes me only till the 25th floor. Yeah. Gyan Yoga takes me to the 50th floor. Dhyan Yoga takes me to the 75th floor. And Bhakti Yoga takes me straight up because it's compared like an elevator. Do you know what an elevator does? What does an elevator do? It takes you directly up. A staircase will take you to the 25th floor, then the 50th floor, then 75th, plus the mehnat which is required. What does an elevator do? Immediately takes you up. Or what do you have to do in an elevator? Just stand, don't get out. Just stand and it will immediately take you up. So it's a direct. And also, maximum people can practice it. I told you this Gyan Yoga and this Dhyan Yoga, when we do the Bhagavad Gita overview on Tuesdays, in case you want everyone wants to continue, in that we learn that this Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga actually doesn't even take in Grihasthas. It takes in only celibates. The process is so difficult, some minimum amount of, tapasya is required. And what happens in Bhakti Yoga? Why is it taking in everyone? Why maximum people can practice it? Because the process itself is so powerful that it immediately purifies. Because I told you, it's direct connection with God. And here we are taking an indirect process of a staircase.
So why should we do that Dhyan Yoga? Why can't we still do it?
That is what is akarma all about. That is what you have to realize. And I'm coming to that, Now imagine if I say that, a woodcutter who goes out every day and doesn't sharpen his saw. He's spending the same amount of time and is getting much less. If he simply takes out some time to sharpen the saw, his work will be much more faster.
Indirectly we have to do.
No, I'm saying that we have to take time out for Bhakti Yoga, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, not Dhyan and...
These will take you to 25th floor and 50th floor. If you're happy with that, then it's okay.
No, but then it is much more tougher, like you are saying.
Definitely. I'm saying these two are anyway out. Because they're not even including Grihasthas. So technically, we are out of Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga because these two processes require strict celibates. Which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. You can read the requirements for Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga. It's not there. So in Bhakti Yoga, if we need to practice, someone might say, I don't have the time. Just like a woodcutter has to take out time to sharpen the saw, can he call that a waste of time? Yes, apparently he is not doing something productive, but is that important? Sharpening the saw? Yes. So Bhakti Yoga, we have to take time out, and how to do it will be this part. I'm just emphasizing right now that all of these, out of these 4 options that Krishna has given, why Bhakti Yoga is the best? Because number 1, it is a direct and the fastest process. Number 2, because anyone and everyone can practice it. And number 3, because it awakens the soul directly. And also Krishna says that. What does Krishna say? Now suppose if I have to buy a Windows software, who's going to tell me which is the best version? The company, the authority, Bill Gates, who's the author. And now Krishna is giving all these 4 options of Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. And then in the end of 6th chapter, when he gives Dhyan Yoga, and then in the end of the chapter he says, Yogi Nam Api Sarvesham, out of all the yogis, that means Karma Yogi, Gyan Yogi, Dhyan Yogi, who's the best? Mad Gatena Antaratmana, Shraddhavan Yajit Bhajate Yomam Same Yuktatamo Mata. Who's the best? Out of all the yogis, one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. Bhaj or Bhakti. What is that word? Prabhupada, he actually defines, if you see Bhakti, the English equivalent given to Bhakti is worship. Isn't it? But actually, if you see the Acharyas, when they were translating all these Sanskrit books to English, they used the word devotional service. Because to show love, is worship enough? Imagine if I tell my husband, I worship you, but I don't do anything for him. It is active service which shows love. So devotional service, that is what Krishna says, renders transcendental loving service into me. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Said, my opinion is that Bhakti Yogi is the best. So at least now we know that Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga are out by even Krishna's opinion. What is in? Bhakti Yoga. So why is Bhakti Yoga the best? Because it takes me directly to the top floor, back to Godhead. And number 2, everyone can practice it. Number 3, even Krishna recommends it. That's his opinion he is giving. So now I come to, will all paths lead to the same goal? I gave you this example of a staircase and of an elevator. Is that okay? Purification inside out. waiting for the senses to be purified, till then waiting for the intelligence to be purified, for the mind to be purified. What is this process of Bhakti Yoga? It's directly taking out the soul and purifying it. So if you compare the Bhagavad Gita to a sandwich, this is a sandwich, no? How do you define a sandwich? When can I say it's a vegetable sandwich?
Yes, for vegetable.
And when the stuffing is vegetable. Cheese sandwich matlab? Stuffing is of cheese. So the Bhakti, this Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. There are first 6 chapters, middle 6 chapters and last 6 chapters. In a sandwich, where is the stuffing? In the center. So the center 6 chapters speaks exclusively about Bhakti Yoga. That is where the stuffing is. That is where the real element is. And the middle, that is 7th chapter to 12th, speaks about Bhakti Yoga. It speaks about the nature of the soul. Bhakti is not artificial. Now sometimes you might say, how do I work for the pleasure of God? How do I awaken that love for God? The thing is that it's not something new that we have to awaken. It's already dormant inside. We just need to reawaken it. Like the nature of the salt is to be salty. Can I separate that quality of saltiness from salt? The nature of the soul is to love and to serve, which is naturally being applied in Bhakti Yoga. What is Krishna asking us to perform in this Bhakti Yoga is connecting to Him, connecting the soul to Krishna through love and through service. And that is what our karma is all about. That we are doing everything that we are doing for the pleasure of Krishna. So that very element of everything, everyday cooking, everyday working, everyday sleeping even, every day that I wake up, I'm simply performing bhakti because I'm doing everything for Krishna. Is that more easy to understand? I told you I'll link it now. So summary is there, akarma is action without reaction. We define all the yogas that are there in bhakti, in Bhagavad Gita, and we define that how bhakti yoga is the best, it's the supreme, because it's even what suggested by Krishna. Now, how do I practically apply? This is how we generally function. Everything starts from me, because I think I am this body. And then things that are mine. My family, my society is the best. My nation, obviously it's better than Pakistan. And this humanity is the best, so that we shun out all the animals and we exploit all the trees, because we are not at it, we are superior. So everything starts from me and mine. Where is God in the picture? If you've been to a pond ever? When we throw these stones in the pond, can you see this ripple effect that comes? When we throw stones at different points, all the ripples apparently start clashing. Imagine in a family, everyone has an agenda. What happens? All the ripples clash. Right? No wonder all the nations are clashing today, because everyone has a different agenda. When in a family, to start small, charity begins at home. To start small, when everyone has one agenda, that's to please Krishna, to practice bhakti because it pleases Krishna, what happens? Is there ripple effect? Clashing? Because everything is at one point, you will see harmonious circles. Like if you compare to the river, when I'm hitting the stone at the same point, what happens? All the circles are coming out just fine, they're not clashing with each other. So that is how Bhakti Yoga works. To love and to serve is the nature of the soul. It's just like fish in water. If I say that the fish will be happier in rabdi, can I try it? The fish will die. It needs water. I'll give you halwa, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, but it needs to be in water. That's the nature. If you see that even in this material world we are serving, is there anyone who will say that I'm not serving? The parent is serving the child. The child is serving in the school, studying so hard. The business person is serving his clients. The person who's in office is serving his boss. Even the sweeper on the street is serving. Is the president serving? Supposed to be. They're supposed to. Yeah? Right, serving the nation. Is there anyone who is not serving? Because that is the nature of the soul. If someone says, I am not serving anyone, he is still serving his senses, still serving his ego. Is that right? So that's the nature. So Bhakti Yoga is that which establishes our love and service for the Supreme Person, Krishna. Because he's got that key to permanent happiness. Is that right? Right? It's like serving the nation. I gave you this analogy. Watering the root is what is important. Till the time I'm watering the different parts of the tree, it's not going to be satisfied. The root is what is important. Stick no bills. How can we acquire love for Krishna? It's not artificial that I have to get from outside. It's already there inside. So if it's already there inside, then why am I not loving Krishna now? You don't need to acquire love. It's already, it just has to be revived. Right now, it's not, what do you say? I cannot express it because of some impurities which are covering that love. What are those impurities? Now you've seen, I remember in school we used to perform this experiment. There used to be these iron filings which have to cling to the magnet. Yeah? And we would write a theory that if it has rust in it, then it doesn't cling. Yeah? And if there is no rust on it, immediately clings. This heart, this soul is rusted because it's covered with these 6 elements of illusion: pride, anger, greed, envy and lust. When by performing Bhakti Yoga, what happens? That iron rod is in touch with fire. When I associate with Krishna closely, what happens? I get purified.
What will illusion be like?
Moh. Illusion that I am this body. Illusion that these things will make me happy. It's an illusion, na? The minute it's in your hand, that illusion drops. Have you had this experience? I have it all the time. Till the time it's in the shop, it's so attractive. The minute it's in my hand, I don't know what they do to the bag, I don't know what they do to the shoes. I don't know what they do to the mookie dress. It's gone. It's that illusion, which is a rust in my heart. And I see my eyes are watching through the vision of that illusion. So everything seems so, all that glitters is gold. Right? So here these 6 things is what I need to remove. These anarthas are what I need to remove, and then that dormant love for Krishna will immediately serve. That service, that love for Krishna will come out, and then bhakti becomes like a natural thing for me. It's like, there was this king and queen who had a tiff one day. Husband and wife always bicker and fight. So this king and queen also had a fight, and there was this yogi who came to this, and he wanted to perform some mystic yoga, and he wanted to impress this king. Basically it was for his remuneration. And so he told the king that, I can stay underwater. Icy cold water, I can stay inside without eating, without breathing, without sleeping, without anything for 3 days. The king said, impossible. So koi nahi kar sakta. And the queen thought, obviously they had a tiff, so whatever he says I have to say the opposite. So she says, no, it's possible. If this yogi can do it, then you have to be my servant. And the queen is saying that. And the king is like, no, I have to take this challenge. And she's dropping this challenge to me. He says, okay, if he cannot do it, you have to be my servant for the entire life. The queen said, okay. When you're this angry, you're always in such a mood. So the king said, okay, now do it. Now the yogi was thinking, oh God, you just are stuck in between now. So if, this whole entourage goes to the river, now this river, it was cold season, so it was icy cold water. What does the king do? He makes sure everything possible that the yogi doesn't win. So he chains him up. Chains him up real tight, chains up his feet, chains up his body, chains his entire thing, puts him in one, this big casket that you can't get out, locks the casket, puts him in the river. And the king is enjoying. For 3 days, both of them are still continuing that tiff. After 3 days, what happens? They go back into the river, take out the casket. The queen is praying, oh God, I will lose my bet. I'll have to serve this person like a servant. And the king is praying that the yogi is dead. And when they open, yogi is just fine. He comes out. They open. The king is thinking, lost my pet. And then he says, no, what does he say? Tells the yogi, you are cheating. Yogi's like, what? Your soldiers were all around full time on the river bed, and how can you say I'm cheating? He's like, no. You see that lighthouse far away? The light is constantly there. Because of the heat you are living. This is cheating. And he goes away. And the yogi is like, what the hell? And the queen is like, oh, he's just making some excuses now because he doesn't want to face failure. So then she decides, I'll teach this fellow a lesson. And every time the king had to go out on a war, he used to have this particular rice kheer that and the queen would always give him. That was kind of auspicious. You either have some sweet, some curd mixed with sugar, or he would particularly have this sweet. So he was waiting for this kheer because he had to leave for this war. Very urgent. And he says, where is the kheer? And the queen says, wo ban raha hai. It's cooking. So he says, Arey, leke aao, I'm getting late. He said, yeah, ban raha hai. After 2 hours, she said, ban raha hai. He's like, Arey, what is happening? 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. He's like, 6 hours, ye kheer nahi ban raha hai. What is happening? He goes to the kitchen and then he sees, Ka ban raha hai kheer? And the queen says, see, kheer ban raha hai. There's one small candle on the floor. Okay. And that pot of milk with sugar, with rice mixed and put and tied up on the... So he says, what rubbish is this? Is this how you make kheer? She says, yeah, if that yogi can get warmth and stay alive for 3 days from that lighthouse, obviously this kheer will be cooked, na? Ye paas mein to hai. So what you associate with is what you will get. If that kheer comes closer to the candle, then it will start cooking. So what I associate with, I become that. Krishna is all pure. He's all perfect. When I associate with him, I become purified. Now how do I practice bhakti yoga in daily life is the question. How do I associate with Krishna daily life? Do I have to sit in the temple only whole day? Everyone can practice it. That's what was the definition of bhakti yoga. Right? How do I practice Bhagavad Gita in daily life? I'll quickly summarize. We did, who am I? I'm the soul. Am I this body? No, at least something we learned. Chalo. I've come from the spiritual world. Now I'm in this prison of the material world. Why? Why do I take bodies here? Because of my attitude, my desires. So many things are pending. So I keep taking bodies, keep taking birth. I'm in this material for punishment and purification. Correct? After this thing is over, how do I get out? There are 3 types of karma. Sakarma, Vikarma and Akarma. Sakarma and Vikarma apparently keep me in this material world. I can get out by Akarma. That means action without reactions. How is that possible? By working for the pleasure of Krishna. I gave you example of a devotee student, a devotee homemaker, a devotee businessman. How they work for pleasure of Krishna. It's a matter of change of consciousness. That I do it for Krishna, I'm not doing it for myself, and I take practice. And also in Bhagavad Gita, when we came to this point, Krishna gives options of 4 yogas. Can you name which ones? Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga and Bhakti. Bhakti is the best by far because it's a direct process, very powerful process. Number 2, it includes everyone. And number 3, because Krishna approves it in 6th chapter, verse number 47. He says, Samay Yuktatamo Mata. My opinion is that Bhakti Yoga is the best. Okay. So now, how do I practice Bhakti Yoga in my daily life? The minute someone starts going to the temple, everyone thinks that person is going to become a sannyasi. Am I right? Am I wrong? At least that is one point that I faced in my house. When I had to go, my parents said, "Shadi nahi karegi." That time I was 17. Shadi nahi karegi. She won't study. She'll leave everything. She'll drop everything and stay in the temple. Was Arjun a sannyasi? He was a householder. He had children. Arjun was a king and a family man. Krishna chose him to speak Bhagavad Gita too. Which is very evident that he wanted us to, very normal people, to practice this formula of going back to Godhead. That's why he chose a family man. He chose a grihastha. So some people explain that bhakti is just an emotion, just a sentiment, just a feeling. But actually bhakti means a practical lifestyle. It means some service attitude, not just some vague emotional experience. And bhakti yoga includes hearing, chanting. I'll be defining all those things later. The practical application of Bhagavad Gita in daily lives. How do I practice that? As I told you, we have to practice it taking out some time. We don't want your family time, we don't want your work time, we just need the time that you take out to worry and waste. Do we take out time? Yeah, so that time we can give for bhakti. Is that okay? Just like that wood cutter has to take out time to sharpen the saw. Yeah? So we have to take time out for the waste time and the worry time that anyway we are whiling away. That can be put for bhakti yoga. So is spirituality a retirement program? Life is a preparation, death is an examination. So when we've prepared, we've done bhakti throughout our life, Antakal, as Krishna says in 8th chapter verse number 5, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastasya samshaya. He says there's no doubt that whatever a person thinks in the end of his life, what will a person think of in the end of his life?
Whatever he's done in his entire life.
Yeah, there was this lady, she was passing away in Hinduja, and apparently she was so lucky she had a devotee doctor, someone who comes to our temple more often. So he saw that this person is in last stage of cancer, absolutely, just few, not even hours, few minutes this person had to live, because when you start gurgling out that contaminated blood, that means it's out, you're up. So then he started chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, for her. And he was asking her to also say, and she couldn't say it. She just couldn't say anything. So he thought, maybe the Maha Mantra is too long, it's taking tedious effort. So he said, okay, just say Hare Krishna. She was not able to say it. She was just staring at, in fact, all the others, the family members, then they called them in, they were chanting this Maha Mantra for her, and she was not able to say. And she was struggling, she's staring at everyone, and she's mumbling something they can't understand, but just this Hare Krishna she was not able to say. So then the doctor, this devotee doctor thought, chalo Krishna bolo. Just say Krishna. She's not able to say even that. Finally, her daughter who lived in US arrived. She opened the door, and then her eyes became, so obviously there was only one daughter, and she had other sons, but that daughter was the only one. And she rushed in, and this lady, just imagine, she looks at the daughter, she picks up something from under her bed, and she says, Beti, chavi le le, and she passes away.
And she spoke that.
She spoke that. It sounds like a joke, but it's actually very horrifying. We can speak so many things, Beti, chavi, that's quite a lot of words. But somehow she couldn't say, because practice is not there. If I have to sit on an examination today, if I have to be able to write something, what should I do?
Study it.
Please study before the exam. So if I think that in old age I am going to study, is it possible? When your teeth are falling out, anyway your body is giving in. Already that frustration of old age is something that only an old person can understand. And meanwhile, if I think I can read something, I can chant something, I can say something, very difficult. So during our lifetime, if we are able to prepare, think of Krishna, give spirituality that due importance throughout our life, then we'll be able to pass in the examination of death. We'll be able to think. So, 5 things which can practically apply Bhagavad Gita in our life. Number 1, accept that I am sick. If I go to the doctor says I have malaria. Kyun? Why do I have malaria? Because I have some symptoms. That I am getting fever during the evening times, I am shivering, whatever. If I have dengue, means my platelets are going down. There are certain symptoms for certain diseases. That's right? You agree? So what is the symptom for my, how do I know I am sick? Because I think I am this material body. That my original identity is not coming to me. That means I am sick. I am suffering there are 4 problems and 3 miseries which are the symptom of my disease. Am I being tormented by birth, death, old age and disease? That means I'm sick. This is the symptom. Okay? And am I being tormented by miseries of body and mind, other enemies and natural disturbances? No, then you're not sick. Huh? Yes, then we are sick. So when I'm sick, I have to approach the right hospital. If I have some problem in the head, some brain, I have to go to a neurology expert, some neurology expert hospital. Some maternity clinic if I have some pregnancy issues. Correct? So once we realize that I am sick, the next step is to approach the right hospital and meet the right doctor. So temples are actually a spiritual hospital. So is the agenda that I go to the temple, that bell is there? It's not here. That bell and people sit for some time and they go. What do you get in a hospital? Like if you're sick, what do you get in a hospital? Treatment. Actually, temples must have programs which actually cure people with their material diseases, the material sickness of not realizing that I am this soul and not this body, spiritual discourses or anything. Otherwise, having a temple for any social, political or any other reason is not the purpose of a temple. The purpose of a temple is to be a spiritual hospital. So, and also temples, it acts like a battery charger. When you come here, when you see other people practicing the same thing, you feel like, okay, I'm not abnormal. Others are also doing it. That's actually the reason why we go for these yatras. Yatra is like you go for a pilgrimage. Just 10 days in a year that we go out to Vrindavan or to Mayapur or to other places, holy places, Rameshwaram and all these places. Because when we go there, the vibrations there just spiritually recharge you. Now otherwise here you have phone calls, you have office, you have this, you have SMS. There you're like free, you don't have any responsibilities. The ladies don't have responsibility of cooking, this, that. You're free. Correct? So that's the battery charger. After spiritual hospital, what if one cannot visit the hospital regularly or temple regularly? A home can become into a temple. Of course, this comes after some time because there are other people also in the family. How do we recognize a government office? Generally, there's a flag. No, there's always a flag. How do you realize when you see antenna, you see antennas all over? That you have to realize that the deity inside the house is the TV. The worshipable object is the idiot box. Then to make this temple, my house as a temple will be a little difficult because there has to be a paradigm shift. From worshipping the TV, we have to worship the Supreme Lord in the house. Then it becomes a hospital. What 800 years of Mughal rule has not done to spoil Indian culture, or 200 years of British rule has not done to spoil Indian culture, TV has done it. Today family time is actually TV time. Dinner time is like TV time. Even family time is not there apparently. Because it's so addictive. It's called an idiot box, but it actually takes a lot of time and energy out of us. So when we put Krishna as the center of our home, then the house becomes a temple. Till then you can visit this temple. So right hospital, God should be the center of the house. Accept that I'm sick, approach the right hospital. And number 3, when you go to the hospital, you have to meet the right doctor. What is the importance of a doctor? Just like when we go to the hospital, we have to find someone who is qualified, able to treat the patient, and is qualified from a reputed institution. That's what that certificate. They have to be, DNA. What do they have? What is that association of doctors called? IDA. I don't know. There's some institute of doctors. They have to get a certification from that. Every doctor must have that certificate put up, whichever category they are serving their people. So just like we go to a hospital to see a doctor who's learned from a reputed institution, And his treatment is curing people. That is also important, not just a doctor is important. Correct? So just a stethoscope and a white jacket makes one a doctor? No. So just because he has to be from an authorized university. So just because someone is wearing a tilak, a saffron or whatever danda he is carrying, does that person become a guru or a doctor, spiritual doctor? Yes? Just because someone is wearing a saffron robe, a tilak, a kanti, that matter, does that person become a spiritual guru or a spiritual doctor? A doctor is considered highly qualified when he has studied from a reputed, recognized institute and is expert at treating and curing his patients. Similarly, the guru is qualified when he comes in an authorized school or parampara. So here I am going to define the school which is required. To study in a college, there are three things. The school, the institute itself is required. There are textbooks which are required, and then there is a teacher which is required. So what is a school? A school is a sampradaya. Does anyone know what does a sampradaya mean? Tradition? Lineage. Something like a parampara. It's a lineage. In Padma Puran, it is defined that there are 4 sampradayas from where which is bona fide institutes for spiritual education. It begins from whom? Begins from Krishna, because he is the source of all knowledge. Correct? Krishna gave the original Vedas or the Vedic knowledge to 4 personalities. In the beginning, in the dawn of creation. To Lord Shiva, Shambhu Tattva. Yeah. To Brahma, the first created being. To Kumaras, who are also the sons of Brahma, they are quadruplets. They are 4 small children, the Kumaras. And to Lakshmi. Is that okay? Wife. 4 sampradayas. It's called Rudra Sampradaya or the Shiva Sampradaya. The first personality who got education directly from Krishna. And then there was Lakshmi. Lakshmi's Sampradaya is called Shri Sampradaya. You've heard about that, Madhu?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Brahma Sampradaya. And the 4th is Kumar Sampradaya. These Sampradayas are still functional in India. Shri Sampradaya, the Balaji temple in South India, the Guruvayur temple, the Sri Rangam temple, all these temples are being managed by the Shri Sampradaya or disciples of Lakshmi coming from that lineage. Lakshmi gave it to her disciples, and like that, it's like a school. The school goes on for years, educating so many people, right? And the people also become teachers. Correct? So all these disciples and this teacher and disciplic succession, that is what is called a sampradaya. So there is a Lakshmi Sampradaya or Shri Sampradaya, there is a Rudra Sampradaya, which is also today called as Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. Have you heard about Vallabhacharya? The Srinathji temple in, where is it? Nathdwara. That is also a bona fide institution to get knowledge of Krishna, the Vedic knowledge, because that comes from and Kumar Sampradaya is also functional, and Brahma Sampradaya is where ISKCON belongs to. It's all called as Brahma, Madhvacharya in Udupi. Has anyone heard of that? Madhvacharya? He is also pretty famous. So the Brahma Sampradaya, ISKCON belongs to that lineage. If you buy the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the entire lineage is given. If you go to the Sri temples, they will show you the entire lineage, that how from Lakshmi there are so many teachers till date. And what are these teachers supposed to do? Teach from the textbook. So we have school, we have teachers belonging to bona fide schools, and then there is a textbook. What are the textbooks? The Vedas, the scriptures. You teach from there strictly. No, the Sampradayas are not written. That's an extra information. Yeah. 20 minutes. Shiva Rudra, Shri is Lakshmi, Brahma Sampradaya and Kumar Sampradaya. So spiritual mercy can be compared like an electric current. You know how there's a powerhouse, there's a power station originally, and then throughout the city, this current is moving. The minute you plug in, what happens? The electronic works. So that plug is like Guru. That powerhouse is like Krishna. The Sampradaya is like that channel, which is distributing everywhere. So there are 4 channels: Shiva, Shri, Brahma, Kumar. And the plug point is like?
Brahma is the temple, which temples are?
ISKCON. ISKCON belongs to Brahma Sampradaya.
Okay.
ISKCON.
And the Kumara?
Kumar, I don't know much about the Kumar Sampradaya. It's mostly in northern area. South India, Balaji temple, Venkatesh temple also is called sometimes. Guruvar, so many temples they have. Ramanujacharya was the one who actually started so many temples there.
Shiva is Rudra, then how Shinaji and Shiva are like?
Yeah. In fact, people from Vallabhacharya Sampradaya don't worship Shiva, whereas their Adi Guru is Shiva. Is that in Padma Purana? That whole lineage. Is that okay? So now that we found a correct doctor, the doctor applies the treatment according to the textbook. Now how do I know that the doctor, Sampradaya and all are working? Because I am getting cured. When the patient is cured, you understand that this doctor is bona fide. He's good. You recommend to others also. Yeah? You always do that. This one is the best and all that. The school textbook and teacher are the 3 things: Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Is that okay? This picture is of the one who started ISKCON, founder Acharya of ISKCON, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He falls under the Brahma Sampradaya. Yeah? So any guru from these 4 sampradayas is bona fide, provided he follows the textbook and his patients are getting cured. Is that okay? It's not that the guru hai to sab hai, but then patient has to get cured and he has to follow the same textbook. So now that I am accepted, I am sick, I have approached the right hospital, I have found the right doctor. Now, when I go to the doctor and I tell him my stomach is upset, what does he ask me? Kya khaya tha kal? Is that right? Huh? He asks me to get well, to avoid certain things. Now that my stomach is upset, I have to avoid oily stuff, a lot of ghee, a lot of sweets also, sometimes milk also. You have to avoid because that will be hard on digestion. So now when I am getting cured under treatment, for the medicine to be more effective, I have to avoid certain things. Yeah. Suppose if I have to light a fire, and I am putting the fuel, at the same time pouring water, what happens? It won't come. So this water are 4 things, and this fuel is 4 things. What are those things? I defined a little bit of it last time, so I'm sure you all will know. Do you remember the 4 pillars of Dharma? Some of you all were not there. Yeah. Satyam, Shaucham, Tapa and Daya.
Ashoka's formula, that is also.
Yeah.
I've studied in school, that's why I remember.
Okay. I forgot. These are the 4 things which are like fuel for my spiritual life. And these are the 4 things which are water for my spiritual fire. So if Krishna consciousness is compared to a fire, I have to rekindle my spiritual fire. So then there are 4 things which are like fuel to this fire, 4 things which act like water for this fire. So 4 things which I need to avoid negative things. We read this is number 1, mercy or compassion is the fuel. Compassion means to act for the well-being and growth of a person on the level of body, mind and soul. It's not harming someone's body, not harming someone's feelings, someone's mind, and doing bad things for that person's soul. Degrading the soul, doing actions which will degrade even that person further in karmic cycle. So one can show compassion by avoiding harsh speech, negative emotions like grudges, guilt, frustration, depression, Yeah? And negative actions like harming or killing anyone, by avoiding flesh and poultry products. Yeah? All these things increase the compassion in me. Violent milk, yes, violent milk. There are ways where people, actually have factories and they put the cow through torturous machines and take out milk. So if we can, actually avoid such milk, it will be good. Because then we carry that karma. When we drink that milk, we carry that karma. Not only that, but even in process of meat, like right from the person who is taking care of that, cattle to be slaughtered. Of course, their agenda is to get that cattle to slaughter. The person who has slaughtered it, the person who has transported it, the person who has cooked, the person who is eating, the person who has paid for it. Everyone gets chained in karmic cycle. So, compassion by avoiding violence, unnecessary violence.
You said something like harsh words, and what were all those things that you were reading?
Harsh words?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of things that you were reading along. I just remember harsh words.
Yeah. Compassion means basically to act on the well-being of someone else. On the level of not only body, but this is very gross. Killing something for my tongue is something like very gross, that is harming the body of a person. And then even harming the mind of someone by speaking harsh words. Even that is violence. Do you agree? Yeah, that is also violence. Yeah. So compassion is like the fuel to my spiritual fire, and violence is like water to my spiritual fire. Is that okay? What is that? Number 2 is truthfulness. If one has to approach the absolute truth, who's the absolute truth? The Supreme Person. Then our life should be based on some ethics and principles of truth. If we live our life based on untruth and gamble away our time, money and energy, then it's very difficult to come on a spiritual platform. Gambling is an addiction.
Do you have grades for this? Like this is bad or this is less bad or something like that?
This by essence is bad. Because gambling takes away my valuable human life. There are so many people who've actually gambled away their fortunes. Because it's such an addiction. Anything which is an addiction is bad.
That not necessarily gambling.
Yeah, gambling.
Any sort of addiction is bad.
Drugs also.
Yeah,
for that matter.
Any sort of.
Any addiction, but if it's done in let's say reasonable amounts or in limits.
See Neeti, the point is no one is born a gambler, no one is born an intoxicant or drug eater or something. It comes over a period of time. A lot of times I've seen such cases where people have, say, depression. Of course, I know ups and downs are going to come in everyone's life. When that down part comes, you have two options. When you're used to gambling, when you're used to drinking, it's very easy for us to take up that instead of take up good things or get us out of that depression or that down part of life. These are the vices, these are things how negativity pulls us in through gambling, through intoxication. That's how people go across that line from regular or occasional drinkers to hardcore drinkers or hardcore. That's how they cross the line.
Tea, coffee, all that is also said not to.
Yeah, tea and coffee
Chocolate.
contains tannin and caffeine. Tannin and caffeine are
Stimulants.
they're stimulants.
Basically, they alter the
Consciousness.
natural state of mind.
Yeah.
So that's why it falls under
Intoxication.
As a drug, it is less potent than alcohol or something, but it also has the same purpose.
Yes,
even
it
less
alters
than
the
weed.
consciousness. And I know many people who are so heavily dependent on tea and coffee. Heavily dependent that they can't even wake up, properly and do their normal things. We are trying to practice spiritual life to depend on Krishna. And if we are depending so heavily on these things, then spirituality becomes a little difficult for us. So you can continue. I'm just saying that you're pouring water. You're still putting the fuel. Still some water, fire will be there, but we're only elongating the process. Nothing else. If you're saying occasional drinking, but then just be careful, because downtime is going to come in the life. Then to choose will be very difficult. This mind will always choose these things because so many millions of lifetimes will be trained in a negative way. For a child,
Sometimes we have these arguments with some of our friends who are heavily into certain habits, even non-vegetarian eaters, they have such strong arguments as to why that it is all okay in God's word. Then this our part of study becomes very judgmental and very rigid when we talk about what is right and what is wrong. They say who has said that this is right and who has said this is wrong. So would that come under just pure ignorance?
I'll put these people into two categories. There are some people who ask to challenge. There are some people, challenge means they genuinely don't want to follow what you're going to say. So, and that one category is that, so I'll answer accordingly. There's one category who are genuinely inquisitive and curious as to why we're following these things and why not this which seems more enjoyable. Meat eating, intoxication, these are normal things which you'll find in a party. And that's not abnormal.
Even Lord Shiva was having, offered. There's some place, Madira, yeah. And there's some place where actually wine is offered to Lord Shiva, and in that hard is offered to some Devi, I'm forgetting.
Kali.
Yeah, so those sort of things. So they said even meat is offered to a goddess.
I remember where I had a friend who told me that that Lord Shiva drinks bhang, so I can drink bhang. So I told him that he also had that poison, so why not try that? Why see only one aspect of a person and not avoid the other? Those personalities are so powerful that they actually don't get contaminated with these things. The problem with me is that I'm 1/10,000th part of a hair. I'm so tiny. And these objects are so powerful, they pull me away from Krishna. Whereas these personalities are not affected. When they're drinking bhang, they're drinking poison also and digesting it perfectly. Without getting affected. He lives till so long. Lord Shiva didn't die when he had an ocean of poison. That's why he's called Neelkhanda, because he could store it in his neck.
Talking about again sex, illicit sex, there is one concept that says that body is like sex is a very bodily thing, and it holds you down because of its desires and everything. So the way to, especially in the tantric Vedas, it says that to get over that desire is not celibacy, because celibacy is coming from control. Control means you're telling yourself not to do something, which will never leave you. It's better to exhaust that and you rise above that. So there is a cult or a sect of people who perform a lot of sex and then they feel that it is now out of their system, and then they are rising naturally in energy, and not by saying that I will not do that, but constantly attached to that thought. So that also comes under illicit sex. So here we are talking about control by understanding that this is wrong and I will not go there. And there is another belief that you go there, finish, you realize and you rise. So, and that's also said in the Vedas, as I understand. So how would you differentiate?
What I'll do is, number one, since purity in illicit sex is 0.4, is it okay if I come to it there? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Because it's a very important question. If you see, I have not written just sex there. What I have written is illicit sex. That means there are some categories which are absolutely disallowed. There is certain category which is allowed. So I'm right now at number 2, gambling.
Sorry.
No, not sorry. Please, these things are on the board. Because there are certain points which we need to understand first, and then we'll come to illicit sex. So then it will become more clear. So number 1, compassion is okay. Compassion makes us soft-hearted and makes us practice spiritual life more easily than having violence. Then we become very hard-hearted. Number 2, truthfulness. Leading a life with ethics and principles and honesty, keeps the heart more clean, rather than wasting time, energy and money in gambling, which is also which has a very much tendency to just wrap you inside. Okay? So gambling is done. So gambling and earning money by unfair means is a breeding ground for dishonesty in thought, in word and deed. Do you agree with this? When we gamble with our thoughts, we gamble with our words, and eventually our character will become like that by deed. So gambling can also become addiction, and compulsive gamblers keep playing till they lose everything. I've seen people come to the road because of these habits. So why just go in it at all? can practice truthfulness. A person who speaks truth is actually happy and can see themselves in the mirror. Show their face to others also. Yeah? Austerity, intoxication. To maintain austerity, gravity and seriousness in spiritual life, we must attempt to give up intoxication of all types. Seriousness in life. For spirituality, it's important that we rise up early in the morning. Because that is that Brahma Muhurat, that time is there in the morning where there is mode of goodness and you can practice these things more easily. But if you are drunk in the night, what happens? You get up with for practical purposes, even if you obviously going to have a late night if you're drinking, and then is it possible to get up in the morning without a hangover? Extremely difficult. So a genuine student who's eager to advance in spiritual life must try to avoid intoxication, including alcohol, because it just changes your entire consciousness. What will you control your mind and how will we control our senses when we don't even have control over our body with alcohol? Person can't even stand straight. That's how those tests are done, no? With alcohol, as a person they asked to walk on a on a straight line and he's just all wobbly. How will he control his senses and all these things, right? And tobacco, cigarettes, tea and coffee also have tannin and caffeine, as I told you. So research has actually shown that they substantially alter our consciousness, as you said. So these things can be avoided. Fourth point, purity. Impure material desires, illicit sex. Impure material desires, they are actually the cause of bondage in this material world. The biggest shackle or biggest, hatkadi, the shackle that is there, which is described in the Vedas, is sex, contrary to what you were saying. The Srimad Bhagavatam describes sex to be a biggest shackle for spiritual life. And those who have sex, keeping one partner or keeping a fixed partner under a marital bond is called a Grihastha Brahmachari. Yeah. Grihasthas can also practice Bhakti Yoga because they are sticking to one partner, sticking to a partner and having sex. And that person is also called a Brahmachari because that also requires austerity to manage your desires. And as you said that people have lot of desire to have sex. As Krishna says in 2nd chapter verse number 70, he says, Apuryamana machala pratishta samudra mapaha pravashanti yadvat. He says that desires, anything, it could be material desire, the most grossest of material desire is sex. How do they enter the mind? If the mind is compared to an ocean, these desires are compared to rivers which are gushing in the ocean. How do rivers gush into an ocean? It's very difficult to stop a river from entering an ocean. They are extremely powerful at that bay, at that junction. This is how desires enter our mind. And what does Krishna recommend to do with it? Apuryamana, I have to say the whole thing. Apuryamana machala pratishtam samudra mapa pravashanti adat tadvat kamayam pravashanti sarve na shanti mapnoti na kamakami. He said, if you try to fulfill each and every one of those desires which are entering like rivers, then you will never be peaceful. Na shanti mapnoti. See, because these desires are never ending. If we think that just by having, n amount of sex we're going to fulfill this desire, then you are in illusion. Because these desires, they enter like a river in an ocean. They are unstoppable. Simply have to ignore till we get purified with spiritual desires. If we continue, see, it's like, I'll tell you what the theory of Rajneesh is. His theory is that you have a fire, you put so much ghee in the fire that the fire is extinguished. Is it possible? The pigeon has sex more than 100 times in 1 hour. Do we have that capacity? We don't. Is the pigeon satisfied by doing it? No, not. You've seen pigeons, they have a lot of offsprings. Whereas a lion has sex only once a year. But it's so majestic, it's so strong. So you cannot compare a person's whatever power or energy to how much he is satisfying his animalistic propensities. Sex is there. Krishna says in Bhagwate Gita, I think it's chapter 7 only, we'll be coming to it this Tuesday. Verse number 11, he says, Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. He says, kamo or sex, I am sex which is not contrary to religious principles. Sex under a marital relationship, Krishna is saying, I am that. So obviously sex is not wrong, but extramarital affairs is definitely wrong. Because we are having impure thoughts in our head. With these thoughts, what happens is our purity is lost. Purity of purpose is lost. Purity of agenda is lost. If you see these people who are constantly searching after or seeing every opposite sex as an object of their enjoyment, for such person to practice spirituality is extremely difficult. These two just don't match. As I told you, it's water to our spiritual fire. These propensities. At the same time, it's not prohibited. What is there? There is facility under regulation. That is what human life is all about. Animals don't get married. They don't discriminate between sisters also.
But
There's a discrimination there in humans.
But even to have sex in marriage life, Krishna says that no, that is also wrong. It should be done
I don't think so. Dharma viruddho bhitasho
Only
kama
to have
se.
children.
only to have children.
For your
This
project.
was told
Yeah,
us,
this was,
told to
yeah.
us.
Yes.
Only
Only for
Children.
because and that too.
That is the purpose. That is there in Bible also. That Jesus Christ speaks that sex should be used for producing good progeny. Good progeny. When you have an unwanted child, even when that child will come out, what will he feel? Abortion is something which even Kans didn't do, if you know. He could have aborted all the child of Devki. It was easy. Yeah, but for him, even abortion was that bad. Or for that matter, divorce. If he wanted, he could have just kept Vasudeva in a different prison and Devki in a different prison. 8 बच्चों का सवाल ही नहीं होता. Yeah, even divorce is counted as so. The marital relationship, Shobha, is an extremely sacred relationship where a person is supposed to advance to Krishna together. They give each other help for that. And if a man has challenges in his propensities, or if a woman has challenges, then they satisfy each other in that bond. Compared to being like a absolute animal in the society outside, it's better to be in that bond and understand each other that way. And then you have children. Rather than aborting, that again is a sinful. Killing a child, killing a brahmana and killing a cow has equal reaction. It's like killing a helpless living being, stopping it from its karmic cycle. That's sinful. And even if you see the practices of abortion, the way they kill the living entity is so ghastly. It's extremely ghastly. Have you seen how they do abortions? You can go to YouTube or you can go to Google and actually check how they perform this particular surgery. It's very ghastly. They blow up the whole child. It's like, when they insert this elements in it and shreds. So painful.
But then they say that abortion before 3 months when the child does not.
That's the Supreme Court announcement.
I know. I mean, they said there's no life in the child. I mean, life comes only after the 4 months.
How do you prove life? How do they know there's no life? Why is it growing if there's no life? They say it's a tissue. It's a vestige tissue. When I cut off my nail and I throw it, is it growing?
No, because it is away. It is not attached to the body. That is
It's not attached to the body. It's not life. But that same tissue is in my body and it's growing. Why? If that child grows from, a pea size to a plum size, till 3 months I think it's the size of a pea. No, it's a size, I don't know, it's there in Bhagavatam. The life is there. You can hear the heartbeat in 6 weeks. What are you talking, Jayashri? Have you been for sonography in 6 weeks?
I won't remember.
You don't remember. It's a long time. In 6th week, you can hear the heartbeat of the child. How can you say it's not alive? Now they have this system, I forgot the exact technical word for it. They can make you hear the heartbeat.
Actually, pregnancy headache होता है तभी वो आपके
Right from
body के
conception.
अंदर चिपकता है वो नाड़ी.
Yeah, that umbilical cord, yeah.
प्रेगनेंसी हेडेक तभी होता है कि वो आपके
Okay.
बॉडी से वो एक एज अ लाइफ
It's a life in your womb. Huh? Try telling your child that. That till 3 months you didn't have life. After 3 months it gets life. What is the proof? My question is, what is the proof? The very proof that that's a Supreme Court announcement that abortion before 3 months is allowed. That's Indian Supreme Court announcement. It's quite a pity. So anyway, we won't go tangent. We are at illicit sex right now. Is that okay? Sex under the bonds of marriage. Is that okay?
No, what about serving that wine and all to God Shiva and this?
I told you he had poison also. So if someone can drink both of them, it's fine with me. It's fine with Lord Shiva
There was
also.
a book in which Shiva was even having hookah and everything, like Immortals of Melbourne.
But that's just a fiction.
Yeah, I know, but like it's
That's
part
a
of
story.
it. But
Even I can write Miloni did this, Miloni did that.
Yeah,
this
there is
and
so
concerts
much.
and like Krishna ji only had so many wives.
16,108 wives.
Yeah.
So
So then,
Is that allowed?
is it not allowed? When Narad Muni visited in Srimad Bhagavatam in 10th canto, it's described. Then when Narad Muni visited, Krishna was not living like a sheikh with 108 wives or whatever. You've seen those sheikhs. They have so many wives and young ones. Almost quarter their age and half their age. Krishna was not living like that. Krishna expanded into 16,108 wives. He had a palace in Dwarka for each of these wives. And when Narad Muni was visiting, in each house Krishna was personally present. Not that, 1 year is with one wife and another month is with another wife. No, not enjoying like that. And he married these 16,100 princesses for a reason. It's because they were trapped by one demon. You know this story? That's why no one knows the story. They only know 16,100 wives he has. They were actually trapped by a demon. These 16,100. Krishna originally had only 8 wives. But these 16,100 princesses, they were trapped by this particular demon. I forgot his name. It's there in the Srimad Bhagavatam or in the Krishna book. It's a very nice story. When Krishna went to kill this particular demon, he was creating so many, he was killing a lot of innocent people. So when Krishna went there, what he had done in the past is that whenever he would attack a particular kingdom, all the young girls and daughters of the king, he would kidnap them, he would keep them in a tower for exploitation. And they were locked in a tower, and Krishna freed them. So they said that was a Vedic time, and he said that even if we are free today, who's going to touch and who's going to marry us? So Krishna said, no problem. I'll marry you all.
But when Krishna is God, why he has to kill demon and all this?
Why he has to do, who else will do it? The government has to take strict action, right? Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else who will do it? When you take care, what happens to you? You're thrown in the prison, you're fined for taking laws in your hand. The government is able to do it. It's capable. The government doesn't get karma. Krishna says, Namam karmani limbanti. He said, I'm not bound by any karma. Is that okay? So this is austerity. Avoid negative things. The cleanliness is lost or purity is lost by illicit sex. 4 things which are fuel, 4 things which are water. Meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex. Basically violence here is water. Mercy, truthfulness, austerity and cleanliness is fuel.
So what if you already performed some gambling or intoxication or something like that?
That's okay. I must have done so many things. But I think 16 years of my life I've been non-vegetarian food. It's fine. When you realize, then you correct yourself. If your child has realized that I was wrong, you give an option. The option is available for that person to rectify further. Even in today's prison, I think when a person is genuinely repenting what they have done, the person is actually, the sentence is shortened and they actually set free.
Like 70% of the population eats non-veg, like all over the world. So they're all sinners. Like
That's actually a particular thing of Kali Yuga only. These things used to not happen earlier. Earlier only the demons would have non-vegetarian food. Apply positive treatment. Now all that is for the purpose that the medicine is applied and it is able to ingest. Bhairavi. That's Uma, our chatterbox. And her mom comes for the class, so it's her off today, I guess. A, B, C, D is our medicine. What is A? A is association. I told you what we, like that iron rod associates with fire becomes like fire. When we associate, we have these laughter clubs and weight loss clubs, and because it's an association, you are able to do it better. It motivates, you get motivated. So when you come to the temple, you associate with devotees who are striving to go towards Krishna. So then we get that particular energy. We are surcharged with that particular vibe and desires to do it also. So that is association, which is very important. Even there's this story of this parrot, which was one given to the king and another one was at the butcher. So when the owner went to visit this parrot, he saw that how this particular butcher parrot was speaking, absolutely abusive words, because he was constantly associating with the butcher. And there the one was with the king, because he was speaking such sweet words and such nice culture, because the king came from a good royal family. So association matters. And imagine if you have to see your child who is like so tiny with some grown-up boys who are smoking and they have drugs also. How would you feel?
Scared.
Yeah, because of course your child is not doing it, but you know that all these things are picked up by association. And the second is book reading. Why do we need to read books? She doesn't like books. Why do we need to read books? Because of dish. What is dish? D stands for doubts. There's so many doubts. Why does Krishna have 16,108 wives? Because these princesses were trapped. That's how we know from scriptures. The scriptures will help to clear all our doubts about spirituality, about Krishna, his character, his activities, about Lord Shiva, his personality. All these things we, by regular hearing or regular reading, we get all these things clear, because doubts are like demons, Krishna says in Bhagwate Gita. Eat us up. And I stands for intelligence. We get a sharpened intelligence. It's like sharpening that saw. S stands for spiritual amnesia. You know what's amnesia?
Loss of memory.
Loss of memory. What does a person do? Isko dekho, this is your wife, this is your house. You take them to familiar places, show them familiar objects, familiar sites where they've been before. And what happens? Slowly your memory comes back. So the scripture gives us, it defines, it shows us the whole picture of the spiritual world. It describes the spiritual world. It describes the activities of Krishna. It describes the activities of the devotees of Krishna. Because we are under spiritual amnesia. We've forgotten completely what was our, what we were as a soul. We so identify with this body. So to get us out of this spiritual amnesia, reading scriptures is extremely important. Or books, B. And H is higher authority. Because scriptures are higher authority. To learn something, we need that Shabda Praman. You remember? Day 2. Right? So A is association. B is book reading. Book reading is important because of dish. So our doubts are dispelled. I is intelligence is sharpened. S is spiritual amnesia. Yeah, thank you. And H is because it's higher authority. C stands for chanting. What is meditation? Can someone tell me?
Connect with God.
Connect with God. Very close. Meditation. Talk to God. What is meditating on a light or meditating on just something vague? Concentration. I'll tell you what's a dictionary definition of meditation. It's cultivating the presence of God through contemplation, thinking, reflection, deliberation, concentration, prayer, etc. So how is it different from mantra meditation? Why do I say chanting then? Why only this particular mantra? Why not any other mantra? Why only Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna?
So this is the mantra of the Kali?
Well, there are 4 yugas. The Satyug, we did that in day 5. Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug and Kali Yug. According to the, the seriousness of the sickness, what does the doctor do? Doctor gives that mg of medicine. So in Satyug there was meditation. In Treta Yug there was yagyas, which has to be performed. In Dwapar there was deity worship. And in Kali Yug it is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now why only Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Because in Kali Santar and Upanishad, which is the medicine, which is a manual for Kali, it's applicable for people in Kali which have a seriousness of spiritual amnesia. So that thing is given to them. There's a conversation between Brahma and his son Narad Muni. So Narad Muni says that Kali Yuga is such a difficult time where people are more inclined to sinful things rather to spiritual options. So what do we do? How do we pass such a difficult process? So Brahma tells him, Iti Shodashakam Nam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Natara Paratara Upaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. He says after searching Sarva Vedeshu, after searching the entire Vedic literature, Nata Paratara Upaya, no one can find a more sublime method of religion than Iti Shodashaka, to nash or to destroy the Kali Kalmash, or what do you say, the impurities of Kalyug. If you have to nash, if you have to destroy the impurities of Kalyug, then Iti Shodashakam Nam Nam. Nam Nam means names, the holy names. Shodashaka means, Shoda is 16. The number 16 is called Shodashaka. Iti. Which Iti? Then in the next he mentions the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He says this 16 syllables of containing of Nam Nam, containing of the holy names of the Lord. What does this mantra mean? Means, O Krishna, please let me render service unto you. This is what the meaning of this mantra is. This Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. 16? So these 16 things, these mantras, it is called as the Maha Mantra. What is the meaning of mantra? Man means mind. Tra means trayate. Man iti trayate. It's a clubbing of two words of man and tra. Trayate. That means to protect from harm of the mind, or to purify the mind, to control the mind. That is the meaning of mantra. Meditation is focusing. So mantra meditation. When we meditate, when we simply hear this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what happens? The science says that it enters the ears, goes down, and it cleans that eye pagal. Remember? The rust on the heart. That is that exact propensities which it is cleansing. Freedom from sinful reactions, liberation, happiness, these things are byproducts of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
And then so doing good deeds is also would be the cleansing.
Good deeds? Can you define?
The compassion.
Sakarma? These things are also byproducts of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because these things, austerity, truthfulness, this is is mode of goodness. What I'm basically asking is violence, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex are actions of mode of passion and mode of ignorance. We are asking you to become the Vedas are asking us to become human beings again. Now that I've come to a human platform, means I have compassion, truthfulness, austerity and purity. That is what actually a human being must be. When I perform these acts of violence, gambling, intoxication, illicit, I am like a animal. How do I practice spiritual life being an animal?
So first becoming human and then... And then with this it's going to...
It's going to take us to the 100th floor of the spiritual world. It opens the ladder.
I have 2 questions.
2 questions.
One is regarding this mantra. That, when I hear that Kasar, they said mantro ka Maha Mantra hai Gayatri Mantra. They said Gayatri Mantra is the Maha Mantra, mantro ka mantra. So why not that?
Why not that? Number one.
Like another mantra is Namo Bhagwate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagwate. That was for Satyug. That mantra is 8. That is very good, and that is for Satyug.
Even for us in Jains, our Navkar mantra is the most biggest Mahamantra.
I'm saying for Kalyug. According to the Kali Santar and Upanishad, it is this mantra. If we have to get out of the anarthas, of course I'm not saying that the other mantras are less potent. I'm saying for Kalyug, the medicine given is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you can continue chanting those, and Gayatri mantra I'll come to. And you can please add this also. Take time out for this also.
But when you chant, chanting should be in a secluded place?
No.
with people talking.
Actually, that was the next question of Narad Muni. He said, what are the rules and regulations for chanting this mantra? Brahma said there's absolutely no rules and regulations. You just have to be able to hear yourself, and that's it.
Oh, that people say that you should not chant in such a way that anybody can hear. I mean,
That is Gayatri.
the Manjari.
That is Gayatri. That is not for Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
No, but I mean, I've seen people chanting and there are 6 people talking and you're chanting, but mind is on the people who are talking. And you're just saying Hare Krishna, but वो मतलब क्या निकला? Just because I want to do my 16 rounds.
See, there are two ways. There's something called no chanting. There's something called progressive chanting. And there is something called high quality chanting. Like your child, he doesn't study at all. He studies with little bit concentration, either udhar tuta futa, and he studies very well. What do you want your child to do?
When you study well, with concentration.
Do you want your child not to study at all because he is not able to concentrate? Kuch to chalega na? I am saying if this person is not able to do concentrate in chanting, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि जो भी कर रहा है वो छोड़ दो. At least कुछ तो कर रहा है ना. That person has taken up to start bathing. One day he will come to these stages. So there are different levels of stages. There are so many people who say, oh, my mind doesn't listen only, so I am not going to chant. But that is the medicine for the mind. Which child wants to take medicine? Do you want to take medicine? No, but we have that intelligence that, okay, now this will make me better, I have to take it. So this is the medicine, this is not an option. You want to be alright? We are sick. We've gone to the doctor. We've gone to the right hospital, we've got to the doctor has asked me to avoid certain things and take the medicine. To what intention and the amount of intensity that I take the medicine, that much I am going to be purified. If that person is talking and chanting, तो वो medicine कम असर करेगा. At least medicine तो ले रहे हैं ना. I'm saying that is more important. That you take somehow. And by chanting, that person actually gets purified and then wants to chant more. That shows that you're getting alright. Is that okay? Now if your child comes tomorrow and says, Mummy, मेरा मन ही नहीं लग रहा है, मैं नहीं पढ़ूंगा. You'll be tensed, that person has to study. He says, कुछ भी कर ले, एक chapter तो कर ले. That's what you will say, na? Your child will say, नहीं, कुछ नहीं तो कुछ नहीं करूंगा. It's not fair, na? Do you agree with that? What I'm saying? Yeah. Some amount of chanting. पर करेंगे ना? Do you say don't study, forget it?
I mean, whenever he or she wants to do it, I will not force him to do it at that time.
But will you ask him to do it if there's exams tomorrow?
But you cannot do it, जबरदस्ती मैं उसको बिठाऊंगी तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं, उसके दिमाग में ही नहीं बैठेगा.
That I agree, but will you ask the child not to study at all? Is that good for the child eventually? See, the mind is never going to listen. Now, Shobha, my point is that children are never going to listen to study. You have to have some discipline in their lives that one day, at least some 1 hour, 2 hours in their time, they have to study. Do you agree? Otherwise, we as parents are spoiling their future. Even in chanting, if the mind tells me today I don't want to chant, so if I don't chant, is my mind peaceful? It's anyway not going to be peaceful. The mind will tell me 10,000 other things to do and make me more miserable. Because the mind is an enemy. I cannot listen to my enemy. Tomorrow if you tell your child, chal jaane de mat pad. Jaane de, exam bhi jaane de. Tomorrow your child will realize that my mother is my enemy. She doesn't tell me to do anything which is right for me. The child is ignorant. What does the child know? What is there in the future? How much more important the studies is there for the future? Tomorrow when he grows up, he's 12, 13 or 14, when he sees the other children doing well, he's going to come back and tell you or not, ki Mummy, why didn't you make me study at that time? Yes or no? So some amount of discipline is definitely required. For a child, for the mind, for spiritual life, it's a compulsion. I'm telling you, today, if you put that discipline in your child will thank you once he's 25, 30. The way I'm thanking my parents, because I've seen my father having such a disciplined lifestyle. Now I'm able to follow it because I've seen it. Right? Unless we don't practice, it's very difficult. So for the mind, ऐसे नहीं है कि मैं बोल दूंगी चल जाने दे, chanting नहीं करते हैं, my mind is never going to be peaceful in a whole 10,000 lifetimes.
What is the significance of 16 rounds?
16 rounds? We'll come to that. I'll just finish because it's pretty late. I think it's 1:10, na?
Yeah.
Sorry. So chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, A is association, B is book reading, reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam daily. C is chanting. No, I'm going backwards. Sorry. I realized. Sorry. And then diet. D is diet. That's prasad. Food should be offered to Krishna with love and devotion, and that prasad must be eaten. Yeah. So then it purifies me even more. It's like double agent. Along with the medicine, you have some vitamins and all these things. Yeah? That's the diet. So apply positive treatment. So what does this diet do? What does prasad do? Number one, what it does, it sanctifies the food. The karma which is involved in getting that food, cutting those vegetables, whatever, and that karma is purified. Like someone has TB and I'm associating with them very closely, it's very easy for me to get that tuberculosis. It's infectious. So when Krishna has eaten that prasad, when I eat that same thing, I also become purified. I become spiritualized. It's like sharing that TB. Right? Number two, to express love and gratitude. And Krishna has given us so much. With love and gratitude, we offer him something and then take that maha. In fact, whatever clothes and even jewelry sometimes we get, we offer it to Krishna first and then take the Mahaprasad. So prasad is not only food, it's like everything. And freedom from karma. My future Lord prasad is very potent in destroying my sinful reactions. As you told, what we've already done. Eat prasad. It destroys sinful reactions. It's got tremendous potency to do that. Is that okay? So, practical application of Bhagavad Gita, we began with a summary of all the days that we've done so far. Akarma is what we need to perform, and that is done by yoga. 4 types of yoga that Krishna described, and he set Bhakti Yoga as the topmost, the sandwich. You remember? And practicing Bhakti at home is possible by 5 things. Accept that I'm sick. Approach the right hospital, that is a temple. Find the right doctor, that's a guru. And then he gives you some things that we have to avoid. Some water on my fuel, water on my fire, some fuel for my fire. And then apply the medicine of chanting Hare Krishna. And that is action in Krishna consciousness. That's A, B, C, D. Association, book reading, chanting, and diet. So I'll quickly give you a conclusion. So the most important take-home message for the Journey of Self-Discovery course is, who are we? We're not just simply a bag of chemicals and bones and biles. We are this important soul. We are special for Krishna. Krishna has a place in his heart for each one of us. Each one of us have a relationship with Krishna. We share that wonderful, chemistry with Krishna. And so we are eternally pure spirit souls within this body. And who is God? Who is God? Spice. Supreme source, supreme proprietor, supreme enjoyer, supreme controller, and supremely independent. That personality is, as the Vedas describe, Krishna, all attractive, is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the object of our eternal love and service. He is the object. And we are, our Sanatan Dharma, our Sanatan religion is to love and to serve God, not Hindu. Point 3, how can we reawaken our relationship with God, that lost relation? By A, B, C, D. By associating with devotees of Krishna, by reading the books about Krishna, by chanting the holy names of Krishna and eating prasad, or even the darshan of the deities, that is D, the deities of Krishna. And we work for the pleasure of the Lord and reawaken our relationship with Him. What's the goal of my life? Life is a preparation for service to the Lord, and death is the examination to remember the Lord at the time of death, and then go back home eternally to serve that Lord in the supreme abode of His. So how to start? We'll start with chanting Hare Krishna every day for at least 10 minutes. I'm sure Gunjan is doing more. 10-15 minutes?
I try to, but it doesn't happen consistently.
Okay. You can be consistent. Or you can work at it. When we realize the importance of something...
Be, but like you said, waste and worry, that time should be removed.
Yeah, that time should be removed and put in for chanting. We have to sharpen our sword. Sorry? Every day, 1 mala, 2 malas, as much. Importance of 16, we'll discuss that some other day because there's a lot of technical things in it. It's the importance of numbers. Like 108 is there. These are auspicious numbers. Certain signs in it. Gayatri Mantra. Why not Gayatri Mantra? Number one, because Gayatri Mantra cannot be chanted by everyone.
Some say you can, some say you cannot.
I am saying what the scriptures are saying.
Some scriptures also said that nothing like that.
Which scriptures?
Whoever's told me have told.
Gayatri Mantra first was spoken by Krishna to Brahma. Do you know this? It's there in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the place of creation. It was given in the years of Brahma. If you see the Gayatri Mantra, how is it passed from the father to the son or the guru to the disciple? It's in the year. People play it loud, so often actually it doesn't carry any potency. A person who's not qualified to chant Gayatri Mantra can't chant it because it brings in reactions then. Person especially who's meat eating, gambling, all these, it actually gives them a wrong reaction when they chant Gayatri Mantra. Some qualification, some purity, some level of spirituality is required to chant Gayatri Mantra. It gives you a boost. And it's not recommended for Kali Yuga. For Kali Yuga, it is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And those people who have attained some amount of spirituality are given the Gayatri Mantra, even in Kali Yuga, but that's given only by the Guru. No one can chant them by themselves. It has to be given from an authority to you. Like Shaligram. You know Shaligram? You cannot buy a Shaligram. Someone has to give it to you. Some superior authority has to give it to you. And it requires a very strict discipline. Shaligram is a particular deity of Krishna, which is performed.
Which is actually kept next to Shiva ka, this thing.
Gets next to Tulsi.
It's a stone. Even
Black
when you
stone.
see
Black stone.
yeah,